The reason why I will always say that a Mars aspect could be hot, but also a little toxic is because, yes, Mars will rule our sex drive. And so, in a relationship sense, it kind of shows what gets you off. But in a just life sense, it also rules like our aggression, how we assert ourselves. And so, whenever you have a synastry placement like Mars rising sign, Mars moon, what that basically says is that, like, if your Mars moon is conjunct in a synastry aspect, it's like, yeah, like your emotional nature and like kind of who you are at your core could turn the other person on in like a sexual environment, but like in just a life environment, that like sex drive, that energy can just kind of turn to irritation. So it can cause a lot of conflict if it's not like healthily expressed. I wouldn't say that Mars is the most like consistent or stable energy. It is important because, again, like your sexual relationship is important, but at the same time you have to make sure that like that aggression doesn't bleed into other aspects of your life. Another example of this that isn't a synastry aspect but I think is very interesting is when you see a Mars Venus conjunction in a natal chart. On the surface, that's really good because it basically means what you find attractive is also the thing that gets you off. And that is not always the case, because if you have ever experienced being very attracted to someone in person, but it doesn't translate to the bedroom, there's probably some kind of disconnect between your Mars signs. But Venus and Mars conjunction in a natal chart is often found in like sexual deviance, like people who have committed sex crimes. Now, obviously, that's not saying that if you have it, that is how it's going to manifest, but I'm just saying that like that Mars energy, if it's not like healthily expressed, can turn toxic very quickly. That's why I'm like, in a a relationship, if you guys have some kind of like Mars aspects, like it could be hot, but also you gotta make sure that it doesn't turn toxic.